Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 as we roll closer. It's hard to believe. Next month, 16 years on the air. 16 years on the air. That's a long time. I know Frank Barton has been with us for at least probably 8 to 10 of them, at least.
I think it's closer to 10.
Yeah, I think it is, from the Barton Power Sports in West Memphis, Jonesboro, Forest City, and now
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee, right on Mount Moriah. And as soon as the show's over this morning, I'm going to go over and take another walking tour of the jewel of Mount Moriah, that's for sure. It is really a nice facility, and it's open right now. And we'll open this morning at 8?
At 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. All right. And then, of course, this is a surprise weekend. Frank's always with us on the third Saturday of each month, but we've snuck John Gordon in here. Good morning, John, again.
Good morning, Larry.
Thank you for coming and filling in this morning, because next week is our big FLW Forest Wood Cup preview, and we will be jam-packed with some of the nation's most respected and most successful professional bass fishermen, and that'll include our one and only Ron Wong. He's at the ICAST down in Orlando this week, lining up the guests, and we're going to talk to Ron from Orlando a little bit later in the show. We've got a huge event coming up the end of this month over in Knoxville. And I was always loved to talk about quail, because it's one of those things that is dear to so many people's hearts, particularly here in the heart of quail country, where Nash Buckingham and Hobart Ames and all those people like that, even before I was born, had such a love of the bobwhite quail. Now, I don't know if anybody's got a greater love for the bobcat and the bobwhite quail is our good friend Don Mckenzie. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Larry. How are you this morning?
We are doing great, and of course, Don is the National Bobwhite Conservation Initiative Director. That's NBCI. This is we may get confused here, Don, this morning. There's a lot of initials we're going to be talking about here when you start talking. But you guys are going to be involved in something that's going to happen in Knoxville. Tell our listeners out there what's going to happen at the end of this month in Knoxville.
Well, it's no overstatement to say that what happens in Knoxville beginning next weekend could well be the greatest gathering of bobwhite quail research and management expertise in history.
Wow.
We have two major events that have been combined into one this particular year.
Yeah. Now
we have the annual meeting of the technical bobwhite managers from 25 state wildlife agencies that will be gathered. And that group meets annually in midsummer in various states. But added to that this year is the National Quail Research Symposium. This will be the 8th such research symposium, so we call it Quail 8.
Yeah.
That symposium only occurs every 5 years, roughly. And so we decided to combine those two events this year into one long, exciting week.
Wow.
And it's being held in Knoxville at the Holiday Inn. It's hosted by the University of Tennessee and by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
And that's
so
good.
It's going to be a big deal for quail.
Yeah, the dates, again, are July 25th and 26th at the Holiday Inn, Knoxville, for the Quail Research Institution. That's 25 state wildlife agencies and private conservation groups on the 25th and 26th. And then, and that committee, if I'm not mistaken, will have maybe 150. How many? 150 members. What are you guys expecting for that part?
Well, the National Bobwhite Technical Committee is the brain trust for quail conservation and management across the country. It's a standing organization. All 25 states are members of this National Technical Committee, And there's approximately 150 people that are standing members of that technical group.
And Don, I know that when you get right down in what our good friend John Doty wrote in a press release here that, bobwhite quail have declined by 80% over the last 60 years. That's. I mean, we look at deer, we look at turkey, we look at all these big name things like that, and then we look at quail, which is, if you read any old novels or anything, they're going to talk about quail before they're ever going to talk about deer or turkey. And now we've come to this point that you guys are literally on the battlefield, aren't you?
We're on the front line, and
yes.
And some days we think we were 20 years too late getting to this front line, but better late than never. And now it's just the hill is steeper that we have to climb to get back to having quail as a widespread huntable species again.
And you do this, but your job is really, you're on the road a lot, I'm assuming.
I work for 25 separate state fish and wildlife agencies and several other partner organizations. So I try to work with them all and be where I need to be to help them do more and better for bobwhites.
Well, I think they need to get you out of that Army Jeep and get you something to move around a little bit better in. It looks like so. As long as you're on the road.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Larry, you mentioned an 80% decline in bobwhites. That is an average number across the species' entire historic range.
Oh my goodness!
There's some places, of course, where they're still hanging on and doing well, like especially along the western edge of the range, from West Texas to western Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. But east of there, for the most part, the declines have been greater than 80%. And in several states now, we know or suspect bobwhites are gone.
Wow. That were there.
And that's a pretty scary prospect.
Yeah. And you guys judge the decline on what?
Excuse me?
What do you base the decline on?
Anybody who drives around Tennessee or any other state in the east and knows what quail habitat looks like and looks to the left and the right as they're driving down the road pretty much anywhere. Yeah. It doesn't take very many miles to figure out what the problem is with quail. There's just very little quail habitat left on the landscape.
So, and I know
the crop fields. Yeah, the crop fields are so intensively cropped. There's no habitat left for quail. Grazing lands have been converted to monocultures of fescue or Bermuda grass or Bahia grass, which is not quail habitat. And the forests have grown up so dense due to lack of management or lack of fire that there's no quail habitat left in the forest lands. And that's pretty much the entire landscape in the east and south.
And I know, John, so, I know that Frank Barton just passed it over to me that habitat, he wrote it down there because it doesn't take long just to drive along West Tennessee and see that. And we're the cradle of bird dogs here from so far ago that it's such a sad situation. But you guys have made, I know I've got some friends in Northwest Arkansas. Of course, that's where I went to school up there. But what you've done at Pea Ridge National Military Park, which I've been at many times, trying to restore and identify native grasslands in a national park.
Isn't that an exciting project?
It is. It really is, because I've been to that place many times, and I'm a historian. I love those things, and to look and see that you're trying to make this back to where it was. I don't know how you pull that off, but that's pretty cool if you can get into the national park system.
Well, you alluded earlier to how we were able to pull it off, which is everybody loves bobwhites.
Yes.
Everybody has stories and memories, family histories about quail and quail hunting, and everybody wants to restore them. So it's easy to find people that can get excited about it and want to help and want to do something. And the National Park Service as an agency is excited about being an active partner in restoring bobwhites. And Pea Ridge just happened to be the first national park that we started working with, and we've now got a list literally of more than 40 National Park Service units around the country that want to help restore bobwhites.
Wow. Well, that
is the kind of partnership and activism interest that gets me excited that we can fix this problem eventually.
Well, I noticed here projects in 13 states to improve habitat on 232,000 acres by 2018. If my math is not very good, but that's next year.
That's coming up pretty quick.
It is, and so
that's another exciting example of a different federal agency, the
Yeah.
National Resources Conservation Service at USDA, that is also excited to be part of this quail restoration game. So we have partners starting to come out of the woodwork that want to join with the NBCI and with the state wildlife agencies,
yeah.
and to be a part of addressing this challenge.
I don't know if any of folks out there, I don't know if Johnny or any of you guys saw that Bob White's on the Brink. It was a 5-part national documentary. Did anybody get a chance to see that? I don't remember seeing that in the Memphis area, and we need to have that. I don't know how we get that, but I noticed in here that it aired on public television stations around the country. You would think it would be on one of our PBS stations here. So that's on one of my goals this week, Don, is to find out why WKNO did not run that series, because I haven't seen it.
It was part of a syndicated series called This American Land. It was
okay.
An episode on that syndicated series, and maybe your local station doesn't carry that
Well, we're
series.
gonna ask them. We're gonna ask them, because that's to me.
I can sure provide you with those episodes if the local station needs them.
Okay.
And is willing to air them.
Well,
maybe all it takes is a request.
Well, we're going to make that request and everything. And again, that's July the 25th, 2 weeks from this weekend. They'll be over in Knoxville, and it looks forward to a great event. Don, thank you for taking time to be with us this morning. And folks,
well, Larry, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, they can go to, what is that, bringbackbobwhites.org?
Correct. Bringbackbobwhites.org. That's our website.
That's and Johnny McFarland, you were listening in on that. You're the Mid-South chapter of
Quail Forever, Larry.
Quail Forever.
And that website, Bring Back Bob White's,
Yeah.
has got a ton of
does.
wonderful information, videos, and the fantastic work that the committee has been doing for the past several years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really is. Don, take you, buddy. Be careful, and we'll talk to you down the road again, okay?
All right. Thanks very much. It's been great chatting with you. Y'all have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Don Mckenzie. And I know before we get out of this this area and kind of move on, I get really I've been around a long time. Well, I'm not really around. I've been here a long time. I've never got around, mostly up and down. But I've been here a long time, and I've been at Ames Plantation. I've seen those bird dogs work, and you know, when they start having to grow their own quail and these things like that, and they try to make this, and it is still a wonderful event. I'm not saying anything about that, but it's just sad to know that from Como, Mississippi to Grand Junction, Tennessee to Michigan City, Mississippi, all the way up to Somerville and all these places that you had Bob White quail that, and you love to hear them. I mean, do they not make music? They make music. Then the doves. The old doves keeps coming and coming back. But we need to get these quail going. Yeah. You're saying, yeah.
Yes.
I heard your head shake, so I knew that and everything. But
well, it's very true, Larry. I mean, you were talking about the old time riders and everything like that. Guys like Corey Ford and Buckingham, and quail hunting was such a big part of it. And in my family, it was huge. I mean, my great grandfather, my grandfather, my uncle, they were all quail hunters. I mean, we had. Look at all the old photos of family photos that there were bird dogs in every picture.
Yeah.
And I mean, now it's just gone. I mean, the whole tradition is vanished.
Yeah. And that's we've done wonders with turkeys and wonders with deer, but let's do some wonders with Bob White quail.
Larry, every year when we do our youth hunt, the Mid-South Quail Forever chapter takes our kids out on a youth hunt, 10, 12, 14 kids. It's the first time for most of them that they've ever seen a bird dog work. And even their parents just remember Grandpa having a bird dog.
Yeah. Well, you ever tried it? I don't know. They're not the easiest thing to hit. I can tell you what, that you need that dog to go on point. What you going to say something about the dog?
Well, no, I shoot a 28 gauge, Larry. I don't have any problem hitting birds. I don't know about you, but
I shoot a 440 gauge. No. I used to shoot my 410. I love my 410. But, but now I've gone up to 20 gauge. But they can humble you. Just like the dove coming up real soon. Those doves they're not sitting up there waving at you. I don't shoot them on the power line. So, I mean, they're flying around you and everything. And I've heard the sunflowers, I'm off the subject, but I've heard the sunflowers may not be as good as this year as they were last year. I don't know. Do you have sunflowers?
I do.
Yeah. Have you seen any, how they looking?
They're just fine.
Okay. All right. They're just fine over there. All right, let's take a break. Is that right, Stuart? Let's take a break and kind of switch subjects here a little bit. We're going to Orlando, Florida. We'll be right back on ESPN 790.
You can find out